If you're ever in the Philadelphia area and want to see one of the most famous people to be born here in Philadelphia, look no further than West Laurel Hill. And here is the legendary R&B singer Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy says, "I am who I am. Life is song worth singing. Theodore D, sunrise and sunset. Have the days and some things that people have left for him." Ladies and gentlemen, if you were born between the mid-70s and early 80s, there's a good chance he was the reason why you were born, because a lot of women got in the mood and a lot of men got women in the mood because of this man. Here's a view from the side. Quite the sunny day here. Someone left some fresh flowers as well as stones. And there you see there's space also for his wife, woman who used to be his wife, right there. Also, just keep in mind that Teddy Pendergrass was in a group before this called Harold, Melvin, and the Blue Notes. And the group continued after his passing, but he was the one that all the focus was around and became the outstanding member of that group. And you have to give credit to Harold Melvin, because a lot of times people who have talent are kept behind by people who are part of the group, but he didn't take that route. He figured, well, if this is going to be our lead horse, why not let him complete his mission because of his talent, and this way everyone can eat. Now, if you're part of the group and you have inside information about it, you might have a different story, but Teddy Pendergrass, probably in this day and age, there are not too many artists that can compare to him. He's probably somebody like, I could say Usher, but it would be a disservice to put Usher in the same category as Teddy Pendergrass, not just because different singing styles and talent or intonation of the voice, but also because of the time period and the effect, the aura that was transmitted when they would take the stage. And when Teddy Pendergrass did it, many of you might have his LPs still. When he did it, it wasn't very common to be seen as an object of attraction, especially in the way that he did it. Especially in this, you see this photo over here, you could literally see steam coming off of his skin when he'd be performing, because that's how hot it would be in the stadium and just within him. And the ladies would go crazy. I can't assume that a lot of people taking their girlfriends or wives to see this man who could turn them on, probably in a way that they could never. But again, different times. And just compare that today, where you have a lot of musicians, not musicians, but mostly rappers, that all brag about stealing each other's women, and they get a kick off of sharing the same person, I guess, going back and forth. But compared to many of the graves that we've seen, this is a nice one. I like the way that it's set up. It almost has a place for someone to come and join him. Of course, Teddy Pendergrass suffered from a spinal injury that for many years of his life had him sitting in a wheelchair and still going out there to perform after he got the nerve to go out there and perform. But you have to imagine how hard it was for him and everybody around him. Also to his fans, because he was the kind of singer that you needed to see every part of him move to get the effect. So he could still deliver the songs, but it wasn't the same effect, if we're being honest. And I like the quote that he says here. It says, I am who I am. Life is a song worth singing. He has a lyric in one of his songs, If You Don't Know Me By Now, where he says, I ain't gonna do nothing until I'm set a happy home. And here you see him with his ex-wife. I also know he was married to another woman, Karen Pendergrass, dancer for many years from the Philadelphia area. I had the pleasure of meeting her a few times and also interviewing her and just speaking to her like a regular person. And she's very, very down to earth, very humble, and also not so humble in areas where she doesn't need to be humble. But this took me a little while. I actually got hit by a car on my way here. And no, I wasn't driving a car. I was driving the GT Megatron Segway scooter. Let's just say I'm doing this interview now. I am reporting to you now. And the car that I hit, which was a Honda sedan, the Honda sedan, it's missing its front bumper. So that's how much steel was gotten. That's how much damage you can expect to be hit by a Segway GT2 Megatron scooter. And I tried it. It's functioning well. There's not even a dent. There's not even, when it hit my scooter went up from the back. So this guy was making a left turn without looking, possibly on his phone. And I had the green light. I was already halfway past the crosswalk, and I see him coming right away. He just jetted. He probably was looking at his phone, like a lot of people do in Philly, but also in other parts of the country. And I'm assuming the world, just very distracted driving. And so I rushed to get out before he hits me right in the middle. So he actually catches me in the back. My scooter goes up maybe 3 feet in the air, but I'm still holding the handlebars. Comes back down, and I look. He said, "You good? You all right?" He didn't even notice that his bumper's on the floor. It's broken in half. And he must have been going, I would say maybe 18 miles per hour at the turn. So I was going possibly around 15, 16, maybe around the same, trying to get out of his way. So they should just make that commercial for this, the Megatron scooter. We went off on a tangent while looking at Mr. Teddy Pendergrass. I don't know, maybe they knew him as Theodore at home. That's his official name, his government name. But what else can I say about it? He's like most of the people who look up to people like this, they see him from the outside. You don't know much about him. But I like how cars, they stop by and they don't know what you're looking at, but they want to see what you're looking at, or maybe they're looking for the same person. But they stop, and there are no guides here at the cemetery. Either you know where you are, or you're looking for it, or you're happy you're not here yet. And there you see a candle. It actually did a good job with the picture. Pendergrass. A lot of people leave out the R when talking about Pendergrass. Say Pendergrass. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's smooth. Someone left a ring here for him. I can assume that, I don't know, maybe it's a loved one, or maybe one of the many women that wish to marry him. Let me just look to see if my scooter's still there. I should actually walk to the scooter, and I can show you exactly where I got hit. I knew I was going to get hit. I knew the driver wasn't going to stop on time. And even if I blew my horn, nothing was going to happen, because he was just not looking very well. I was right here in the back. Right here in the back. Nothing. Look at the body. Nothing. Yeah, he spent a few minutes trying to fix He spent minutes trying to fix his car. He got some tape from the trunk. A lot of people were looking. And I guess he don't want to admit guilt. Not even an excuse me or anything like that. But I'll say this. Always look where you are going. See everything. Sometimes you can't help it. And there's a car coming right at you, but just be mindful of that. Let's get back to Teddy. All right, so he was born in 1950. So that's right about the time where a lot of your parents right now who still remember him are in their 70s, anywhere from mid 70s, late 70s, maybe even late 60s. You know who this man is. And yeah, there's a picture of him when he could walk. There's another picture when he couldn't walk. And hope that his family is proud of his efforts, because he meant a lot to a lot of people. Even in a time where he wasn't at his best. I remember, it was hard to listen to his music after you knew what happened to him. And at least it was for the people that I was around during that time. I was a little kid then. But I remember every time they would play his music, they would worry about, the story went from how good he looks on stage to, it's a shame what happened to him. Now he has to live all his life in a wheelchair. And one thing about him, though, is when you would see him in interviews, his spirits were always up. And maybe he did that to not make everybody else sad, but just imagine. He for a lot of people growing up in relationships in that time, they looked at him as men, maybe someone to emulate, but they would never admit it. I see a lot of men would dress like him. They would get the sunglasses. There was always talk, who do you like better? Marvin Gaye, before Marvin Gaye got killed. Who do you like better, Teddy Pendergrass or Marvin Gaye? Who do you like better? And it would always be like, Marvin Gaye has, he's suave, he has this finesse to him, but Teddy Pendergrass, oh my goodness. He's, you can't match with him. Oh, you can't leave me, that man is hot. I would, there are women who throw their panties on stage, their bras on stage, and you know what they could be thinking. As a kid, you don't know why they're doing this, but then later on you realize, okay, he had this effect on people. And of course, everybody has their own opinion, their own story behind someone when they're here. So you can imagine after they're not here anymore, there were some not so nice stories that people would talk about him and allude to what he was doing in his free time. But you choose to believe. A lot of these stories are said to just jealousies, or not even, you can't confirm them, so why dabble in them? And that's why I'm not focusing on that. But I like that people have brought some flowers here, and I myself will leave a little something. So yeah, that's, I didn't know he was, 2010, he was here a while. Actually, he survived a while. I think the accident was the early 80s, so he lived a long time after that. And you never know what goes into the mind of someone who was bigger than life in some respects, and the story then becomes what could have been, and you just never will know. So don't think too much about it. Think about the memories that he's made and the videos that are now being remade in 4K on YouTube that talk a little bit more about what he represented. And we grew up this was in another time, and when he was famous, that a lot of celebrity gossip was not as popular